Ayan na. We have a special guest today. Very special guest, of course, fellow Baguio boy. I've heard a lot about this special guest of ours for quite some time, and I got to discover we're both from Baguio. And later on, of course, as we'll discuss, there's so many other things that bind us, no, and hopefully in the best way possible. Thank you very much, Attorney Libayan, for joining us today.
All right. Well, it's my pleasure. How do I call you ba? Richard?
Please call me Richard lang.
Prof?
Yes.
Richard, yeah, it's my pleasure to be here. And of course, syempre, sino ba makakatanggi sa'yo?
Thank you so much. Alam ko, both of us are trying to put our schedules together, in and out of country tayo, but I'm glad that we found this time. Alam ko, medyo kalaban natin ang FIBA World Cup, pero kaya natin yan. I think
Yeah.
medyo combined forces tayo. Okay, there's a lot to talk about, but just in case, para lang hindi mag-over-expect ang tao, we're not gonna talk about everything in this. But we're hoping, God willing, this is just the beginning of a series of conversations. So as you know, I have a number of co-conspirators, Dr. Lisandro Claudio from UC Berkeley, pag mga international issue, siya yung kasama ko. Pag mga, I don't know, minsan medyo showbiz, medyo makulit, si Mark Gambo ang kausap ko. And then of course, we're hoping that we'll also have more and more conversation on issues like law and order with you over time. If hopefully this first introduction, first date natin, podcast date natin will go well. Thank you very much, Kapsat. So,
Yes, sure. Walang problema.
of course, you have quite established yourself as a prominent YouTuber, as a legal kind of influencer. Something that I've seen a lot in the US, other countries, but in the Philippines, I think you have been one of the pioneers. Shortly lang dun sa mga siguro who want to know more about you, can you give your backstory? How did you end up as essentially the YouTuber Attorney Libayan that we're dealing with? Yeah.
Well, actually, nagkaroon ng evolution kasi yan eh. Well, it started out yung website ko nga na batasnatin.com because during that time, that's around mid-2000s, 2007 to be exact, ginawa ko yung website na batasnatin.com because of the lack of legal resources online. Yun talaga ang malaking problema noon. I was studying law and uh, I was also working. So mahirap siya. I don't have time to go to the library. Mahirap maghanap ng legal resources online. You cannot see anything. Even if you type the SCRA o kaya yung mga GR numbers, hindi sila lumalabas noon. Yung mga full text lang ng mga batas pambansa at saka mga republic action din nakukuha. So eventually, I had that idea na, well, nahirapan ako. So why not, parang sinabi ko rin na as a sign of, hindi naman sign, parang para magkaroon ng good karma. Pag nag-take ako ng bar exam, sabi kong ganyan, ano, baka pumasa ako agad kasi nga nag-share ako ng mga notes, nag-share ako ng mga digests online. So it started there. Then eventually it became a promise na parang sinabi ko sa mga tao na, sige, pag kunwari ganito ang mangyayari, I'll give free legal advice na rin on the side if eventually I become a lawyer. Pero for the meantime, I will be sharing my notes muna. So nung nag-evolve nga sa ganon, I think na alam mo rin yun yung mga forums noon, 'di ba? May mga forums noon. Nagtayo ako ng forums dun sa website ko where people can ask on certain topics. Tapos ako yung sasagot mismo. So nangyari yon, sobrang daming nagtatanong. So sa sobrang daming nagtatanong, nagkaroon ako ng 3 years na backlog kahit everyday ako sumasagot. It took a lot of my time. Then eventually, nakita nga nung sumikat yung live streams, naglabas noon yung Facebook eh. Tapos sinabi ko sa misis ko, parang ito kaya yung gawin na lang natin para we can help more people because the answer is real time. Isipin mo kasi parang nung sinagot yung sinagot ko yung backlog ko na 3 years ago na. Kasi titignan ko yung mga unanswered posts eh. Hindi na makakatulong sa kanya yung tanong, yung sagot. So, if I do it live, I ask people to send me their questions or comment their questions. Ang mangyayari ngayon, matutulungan ko sila ng ura-urada. So, that's how it happened. Then eventually, ang daming nagtatanong sa akin ng mga current events. Tapos pagkatapos nun, yun na. I comment on current events, tapos I talk about the legal aspects of current events. And syempre, kasali na rin, part of it, syempre, politics, hindi mo naman may iwasan yan sa pagiging abogado. Anyway, doon pala sa ano, nagrereklamo yung mga kabatas natin dito sa ano, walang audio. Meron tayong 1,199 viewers. Hindi ko kasi alam doon sa mga ano
Inayos ko lang
nakikinig.
once again, yeah. Ay, baka
Hindi ako lang ang wala yung ano yata yung broadcast ko yata ang wala eh.
yeah.
Kasi broadcast ko through the web
Yes,
browser.
may
Baka
mga
walang
nagsasabi
audio
rin
nga.
dito eh. Yeah. So it looks like many people are interested in this conversation. I'm glad to see, although may technical problem, but birth pains natin yan. Kapsat, I want to ask you, where did this come from? Do you have like a kind of a teacher inside of you? Where does this this kind of instinct for helping out, for being a source of public information, where does that come from?
Well, it's yes,
the audience keep on calling.
Yes,
my
we're
mom,
fixing
and
that,
then
sir.
they keep on saying they cannot hear you talk.
okay, thank you.
Ayos mo na. Ayan, lalo tayo magte-trending yan.
I'll send the
Salamat,
link
sir.
na lang doon sa I'll send the link, yung link ng ano. Live ba tayo doon sa Facebook mo?
Yes. We're just hearing you lang, no?
So goods 'yon kasi yung audio doon sa iyo,
Yeah.
tapos kung gusto nila makita kung ano yung nangyayari, dito na lang ho ilalagay ko yung link dito, doon na lang
No
sila
problem.
makikinig ng
Baka
audio.
maraming interesado eh. Baka nag-overwhelm yung system. Parang, ano ba yun, yung Twitter, ano ni DeSantis, di ba, nag-crash yung Twitter niya. Yung launching ni Elon Musk, baka na ganyan tayo. Sa
Yun nga.
daming
So
posado.
siguro you can direct them to click on the link kasi hindi nila ako maririnig.
Yes.
Click on the link na linagay ko doon sa so they
Yes,
can watch or
they
they
can
can
click on
listen in
my
your
Facebook Live right now and also my YouTube page, both of them, so they can just hear you dito. They can see me, but they can definitely hear you. Yun yung inayos natin ngayon. So I'm glad we're on a good page. Kapsat, so can we go back to that question? Where does this come from? This instinct for helping out, for getting the message out? I mean, of course, I have my own story. I mean, my mom is a professor. I mean, I always had this kind of makulit, ADHD type of getting message out. What's your story, bro?
Well, ano ba? Siguro part of it is my personality na rin,
Right.
na I want kasi na ano ba? Gusto ko tama eh. Alam mo yun,
Right.
parang I want to always seek the truth. Tapos yung pagtuturo naman, I taught naman kasi English for 3 years.
Wait, sa
More
mga
than 3
Koreans?
years.
Sa mga Koreans sa
Sa
Baguio?
mga Koreans, Sa Baguio, syempre.
Alam na din.
Hassle eh. Kailangan magtrabaho. So, siya, parte nun, naging teacher din. Although marami naman nagre-recruit sa akin na maging teacher ngayon, I think I don't have the time na. Pero yun nga, tapos ang dami kong naririnig online, especially sa YouTube, na wala ngang lawyers na gumagawa ng paliwanag eh. So, many YouTubers who are not really well-versed with the law, sila nagpapaliwanag, si Rafi Tulfo, nagpapaliwanag siya tungkol sa
Park
batas.
muna natin yan. Mamaya tayo mapunta dyan. Park muna.
Okay. Mukhang galit na siya.
Natin yung kaibigan natin, si Banat, mamaya. Okay. No, I mean, of course, the context of this conversation is like, there's no way that I'm gonna do a Banat by interview, but I'm not gonna do an Attorney Libayan interview. Parang hindi yan balance, no? And for some reasons, I think now we're explaining how did this come about, no? Hopefully this collaboration. And then of course with respect to the Tulfo brothers are doing quite well politically, it just happened na whoever I iniimbita ko, for some reason, amazed sila sa mga Tulfos. And I don't want to be like the party pooper and say, so I just said, you know what, may kailangan tayo interview dito. And of all prominent peoples online, ikaw yung pinakamatapang, no? Oh, by the way, Idol Rafi, baka magalit kayo sa akin. I'm just being fair here. Alright? Kay Erwin at saka kay
baka magalit din sila sa'yo kasi alam mo, when Katuning interviewed me, medyo marami
Nagalit
rin
din
nanood doon.
yeah.
Tapos marami rin nagalit sa kanya.
But
Pero
bro, this is it. Crossovers. It's part of the story. I mean, when I interviewed Banat Bay, dami rin nag-backlash sa akin, from which quarter, di ba? Dalawa na nga ngayon.
fanatic ka nga daw eh.
Yeah, exactly. So, ang daming gagalit sa akin. So, I'm just balancing it out, no? Yin yang.
Sabi ko nga, buti nga sa'yo.
Bro, welcome to the club. Ito na. This is the beginning, bro. Ito na. No, of course, just for siguro the stars align. Maybe yun ang gusto ng Diyos na nung pumunta tayo dun sa, well, your father-in-law's, big event.
Yeah.
Mayor Magalong, of course, which is our ultimate connection here, not only as Baguio boys, but your father-in-law, of course, pumunta tayo dun. I heard that you're related to him, but I never confirmed. And then dun sa event nila sa UP na I dropped by after doing our student interviews, etc. Biglang, wait, parang si Attorney Libayan yata yun. Although I think I saw you before sa SM Aura, pero hindi naman ako yung creepy type na I'll just come to you like that, diba? The same way na ayoko rin kinikreepy ako minsan. Hindi naman tayo feeling sikat, diba? Sino ba naman tayo, diba? And I saw you, and then, what? Sabi ko, kausapin ko ito mamaya just to confirm kung talagang father-in-law mo si Mayor Magalong. And then next thing I know, yung pala paras lang tayo, mayabang lang yung dating natin on screen, pero actually, mabait tayong pareho, di ba?
Mabait naman kasi talaga tayo, na misinterpret lang tayo kasi nga, ewan ko kung ano nangyayari kasi kapag napapanood nila tayo sa sa
hindi, mayabang naman talaga tayo, bro,
screen.
pero hindi, mayabang talaga tayo. I think meaning natin. But this is a Baguio thing. Yung mga Baguio people, meron talaga tayong mayabang na ganun. I think may pagkaganon din yung mga Davao people di ba? Kami naman parang highland kami, kayo lowland lang kayo. There's just something about Baguio educational environment that I think instills in you this sense of hindi naman superiority complex, pero yung hindi kami basta-basta, no? So I always felt na the same way na misjudge tayo, I felt na ganun din sa'yo. Na sabi, hindi, mayabang rin talaga to, pero I'm sure once he's with someone like himself, he's gonna be comfortable, and that's the whole point why we're having this conversation. So, bago tayo pumunta sa best friend mo, no, si Banat, bago tayo magbanat kay Banat, i-different si Banat boy, and at saka Tulfo, pag-usapan muna natin si Mayor Magalong. I mean, so how long have you known Mayor Magalong? Like, is he a great father-in-law, if I can put it that way? Sorry bro if I'm putting you on the spot,
How long ba? As long, siguro mga 15 years. Ilan na taon na ba yung panganay ko? 15 years or 16
lang when you
years.
started your essentially your blogging, right? You said 2007, right?
Hindi, 2000, with the website 2007. Hindi pa. Parang ganon. Yes.
Parang ganon, di ba? See?
Around that time,
Exactly.
Around that time.
So Mayor Magalong, kakakulang niya noon or nasa PNP na siya? No? I'm trying to look at
Well, nasa PNP na siya noon. Actually, floating pa lang siya noon.
Yes.
Nagtatrabaho siya sa Manila. Nung nakilala ko yung misis ko, hindi ko alam na Colonel yung tatay niya. Hindi niya sinasabi sa akin.
You don't do your research well, bro.
Alam mo
talaga like, woo, man.
I didn't know it. Ang nangyari na lang, one time, sabi nung yung nga, si Attorney Magalong, sabi niya sa akin, uuwi yung tatay ko. Kasi yung tatay niya nasa Manila most of the time Doon nagtatrabaho, weekend umuwi. So, sabi niya, uuwi yung tatay ko, punta ka, ipapakilala kita. Sabi niya ganyan sa akin. Sabi ko, kahit wag na. Sabi ko ganyan sa akin. Hindi, punta ka lang, papakilala kita. Sabi ganyan sa akin. Tapos, nung punta ko sa bahay nila, pagdating ni Mayor Magalong doon, hindi ako pinapansin. In-introduce na ganyan, tapos, iho, sabi niya ganyan. Tapos, tumingin lang siya sa akin.
Nako po.
Tapos, nakipagkamay. Wala na, hindi na kami nag-uusap. Ang swerte doon, merong aso na inuwi siya, na inadapt nila, na nag-retire din sa service. Dating parang bomb sniffing dog.
German Shepherd or Doberman?
Hindi, maliit Ano bang aso yun? Nakalimutan ko na Pero ang pangalan niya si
Bomb Squad. Basta Bomb Squad.
Yung mga mga police na aso.
SAF ba to? SAF?
Sa SAF. Nag-retire. So, inadapt nila kasi ina-adapt nila yung mga nagre-retire, yung mga matatanda na. So, inadapt niya. Tapos, tuwang-tuwa yung buong family nila. So kahit naiinis siya sa akin, siguro dahil bakit merong boyfriend itong anak ko, tuwang-tuwa sila doon. So siyempre ngiti-ngiti sila, tapos ako naman kunwari happy din, gano'n, pero kinakabahan. Hindi talaga ako kinausap, doon lang naka-focus. Tapos eventually, hindi na kami nagkita na matagal. Tapos pagkatapos no'n yun buntis na.
Okay, Medj, I think we can just skip some parts. Let's just stick to the endorphins, good vibes, good hormones at saka aso, no? So, let's just say malaki yung role ng itong retiree bomb squad na special forces na Poppy in your life. I'm glad that you survived because of course I interviewed your father-in-law on multiple occasions. Of course, he's very nice to me and all of that, but
Yeah.
ako naman, I have no illusions about father-in-law situations, no? Going back to this, bro. Now, again, of course, neither of us can be 100% objective. I mean, family friend namin si Mayor Magalong. In your case, is literally your family. So I think none of us can fully pretend to be objective. But to the degree that we can be objective, are you surprised by how things are turning out for him? I mean, in a good way, no? In terms of the national prominence is getting as an LGU leader. I mean, of course, marami siyang na-contribute nung time na sa PNP siya. Of course, in the private sector, pinag-usapan na namin yung background niya. Pero kasi ang dami natin naging mayor sa Baguio, pero ngayon lang nag-click yung mayor ng Baguio at the national level. That, diba? I mean, we're a relatively important city, but ngayon lang yung mayor natin yung medyo sumikat-sikat, diba? So, let's just forget for a moment na kapamilya natin the mayor. Are you surprised by that? How do you feel about it as a Baguio boy? I mean, both of us are based in Manila, but still.
Actually, hindi naman ako nagulat kasi nung nakakausap ko siya when we became family, nakita ko na yung prinsipyo niya talaga. So, parang maiisip mo kasi na, well, may ganito palang tao. Yun ang unang shock sa akin. Kasi ako rin naman, I tell all the people na I'm not a good person. Lalong-lalo na noon, I was a black sheep.
You don't have to do this, bro. You don't have to do this.
Hindi. Kaya nga sinasabi ko. Tapos eventually, well, the thing that I'm trying to to point out is he's such a good inspiration kasi sa mga tao. Yun sa tingin ko ang nangyari, kaya he can also do things. Kasi nga he walks the talk. It's not kissing ass na parang sasabihin kasi siguro ng mga tao kasi pag mamaya dumating diyan paluin ka. hindi I'm really telling you the truth, and you can ask the people around him how he actually stands by his principles. Yun ang maganda. Yung iba kasi most politicians alam natin yan na when they are in position, once they get a taste of power, they know that they can do things. Ang mangyayari diyan, mawawala na lahat ng mga prinamis nila sa inyo. Pati yung pag-uugali nila, yung mga prinsipyo nila magbabago. 'Di ba? And everything will just be a facade. Ang maganda kasi sa isang politiko sana, kung ano yung pinapakita niya o kaya kung gusto niyang ipakita sa iyo, ganun din siya actually. It's parang Mayor Magalong, I think, siyempre it's biased. It's very rare. It's very rare.
Pero yun nga, bro, I mean, putting aside yung connections and all natin kay Mayor Magalong, I mean, you and I are kind of our own public figures in our own small, humble ways. Lagot tayo sa tao, di ba? I mean, if we just bola-bola for mayor and then God forbid something doesn't work, maano tayo ng tao, di ba? So I think people have to understand that, as much as, we cannot be 100% objective, we're putting our own reputations also on the line here, di ba?
Yeah.
As public thinkers. So we're not saying this just for the sake of saying this. So I can see your sincerity. I mean, are you suggesting that the mayor was kind of instrumental to your own arc of redemption, if I can put it that way? Kasi parang you're implying na I don't know, may makulit side ka in the past, but now obviously you're in a more steady family mode and all. Do you think so the mayor played a role in that? Is that what you're implying?
Yeah, most definitely. Kasi you don't know me before alam mo naman, pero Baguio boy ka, alam mo yung buhay sa Baguio if you're a rocker. Yung rockista, yung tumutugtog sa banda. Tapos 90s concerts, gabi-gabi nandun ako sa labas. We play in everywhere. Tapos you know what happens when you go to events. Talagang ano, sabi
No,
ko
I
nga
don't.
noon,
No, I don't.
hmm? Mabait ka. Mabait ka kasi ako hindi, it's ano talaga, rock and roll, the rock and roll lifestyle. Ganun talaga yung nangyayari. Tapos I was thinking before talaga na I will not settle kasi nga hindi parang it's not fair that I will drag somebody down because I don't care about parang what's happening to me, the future. Alam mo yun? Parang ganun yung iniisip ko. Tapos eventually you will meet someone na parang okay din pala na ganito yung gawin mo. Like be parang stand by your principles. Tapos yung at least try to be good. So yun lang. Hindi naman ako ganun kasama kasi my parents raised me well din naman.
Okay lang, bro. Okay
Kaya
lang,
lang,
bro. Yeah.
kaya lang tulad nga ng sinabi ko, marami ka rin kasi matututunan sa kanya. Parang nga nagkaroon ako ng parang rich dad poor dad moment na I learned from both of my parents. Iba rin yung sa kanya kasi dun sa side ng parents ko iba rin eh. Tapos yung sa kanya iba rin talaga.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it makes perfect sense, diba? Na yung energy, yung dark energy which was driving your rockstar life, you just had to, translate it into more quote-unquote positive energy. So the intensity is there. It's just it got redirected
Yeah.
somewhere else. Now, this is classic Freud, Carl Jung, diba? I mean, I was not necessarily a rock star, but I was, crazy in my own ways when in my younger years. Marami rin ako nakaaway back in the day. And then when people see me like after 10, 20 years, they say, actually, hindi kami surprised. And I say, what do you mean? Like, they say, no, you just redirected whatever energy was there. So I completely relate with what you're saying. And thank you, Kapsat, for also being honest about this on a personal level, how you feel Mayor Magalong was very instrumental. Now, let's do a little bit of a political analysis here, no? Why do you think that do you think that this is the right moment? There's also an element of political moment here. That's why medyo nakiklik si Mayor Magalong. Medyo perhaps there's a vacuum of leadership when it comes to good governance.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. This administration and the previous administration are not necessarily paragons of good governance. I mean, we can argue about competence, whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, let's be honest. I mean, the last time I heard the president or a top figure really going hardcore in terms of good governance is either Pinoy or Lenny. In the case of Lenny, I don't know, what she's doing right now since the election was over at the political level, although on the social level, angat po and all of that. So it's essentially Mayor Magalong is now carrying the baton. But at the same time, we know Mayor Magalong had his own big differences with President Aquino, to put it, mildly, right? Very mildly. And he's someone who has had good working relationship with all sides, no? Panoni Digong,
Yes.
he was Digong czar for contact tracing. He had also very good working relationship with attorney Lenny Robredo. Everyone I talked to from different sides, including siguro yung mga favorites mo, tuwan-tuwa rin sila kay Magarong, no? So,
Yeah.
so what's going on here? Is this, do you think, his political moment? Is he filling up a kind of a vacuum of leadership?
Well, I think it's the clamor of the people for positive change. And parang ano kasi, parang tulad nga ng sinabi mo na it's been a while. It's been a while talaga na we see people like this in the political scene. Ngayon, it will be a waste din naman kasi if it will not be put to good use. So people are clamoring for it. Ngayon, yung sinabi mo na marami siyang pinagsilbihan naman tapos maayos sila. The very reason there, I guess, is because he gets the job done. Yun na malaking diferensya sa kanya eh. If he really says something if he really said he will do something, well, he will really do it. Yung political will ba?
Yung husay din, di ba? I mean, you may have all the will in the world, but if you don't know how to get things done, kakalat ka lang, di ba? Sabog, di ba? Which
Exactly.
something that we're going to talk about very shortly. You can see where this conversation is going, right? And I think this is where your contribution is very important as a legal mind and as a legal influencer. kinakabahan ka ba? Are you worried for mayor? I mean, ako kasi parang whenever someone rises to that kind of prominence, national prominence, it's just inevitable you're gonna make a lot of enemies. No, I mean we're not gonna name names.
Yes.
We saw already pushback by some people. Some people in the Congress, hindi naman sila pinangalanan, pero defensive bigla at kung ano-anong sinasabi ng Mayor Magalpa, hindi naman kayo namin,
Oh,
di ba? Like wala naman akong sinabing tao eh. Tapos ngayon biglang na-hurt yung iba dyan. So parang what's going on here, di ba? Natamaan bigla yung iba. And these are not nobodies. I mean, some of these people contributed to the downfall
yeah.
of the biggest media network in the history of the Philippines. I think people already know what we're talking about,
Tama.
right? Ano pang bigay natin clues dito, di ba? Are you a little bit worried? I mean, yun nga kasi how should I put it? I mean, you and I, we're intense people, di ba? And there are these moments na, there I won't say messianic complex, but there's this moment na you feel, the weight of history is on your shoulders and you have to really step up, di ba? And I think dun sa Baguio, our educational system, social environment always give us the strength of conviction and confidence, no, not to oversell ourselves here, di ba? Are you worried na yung mga nagkakaroon ng kalaban? Or you're saying, no, I mean, Mayor Magalong's life, he has made so many enemies. This is just,
Yeah.
na lang yan, icing on the cake lang yan. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I think I'm not worried at all. I'm not worried. If there is a person who actually can take this kind of heat,
Yeah.
I think it's him. It's him. Kasi pag makikita mo yung mga ginawa niya noon, the most shocking thing actually that parang that happened sa akin is yung nangyari sa PNP noon when they were called in the Senate and he was face to face with the chief PNP. Tapos prinangka niya yung chief PNP sa harapan. And well, yun ang sa tingin ko sobrang delikado noon kasi that's the chief PNP and you're a retired police. Alam mo yun?
I
And
remember that.
people were calling left and right, nagpapahiram ng ng bullet proof na sasakyan niya, tapos ganito. Pero he was never worried. Pupunta kami dito, magdi-dinner, wala siyang bodyguard, kami lang. Buong pamilya, kakain. That
Yun
was
nga,
in the height of the PNP issue. So he is not worried at all. Wala namang problema kasi he knows he's not doing anything wrong.
And I think that perhaps got the respect of also Digong, no? I think, we can talk about Digong very shortly, no? Speaking of Sabog and all of that. Napansin ko, the thing with Digong is, I don't know, based on my own interaction, I think gusto niya even the fact that even if I criticize him, I do it, in a feisty way. I think he just likes feisty people, no? I don't, it's only because, your father-in-law was, had that thing with Pinoy. No, I think it's more than that. I think na-impress si President Duterte sa kanya. But so what you're saying is that your understanding is Mayor Magalong is the right man for the right moment, essentially. That's what you're saying. And as his son-in-law, you feel, he should welcome this, right? Rather than having reservations and all. And you feel that, perhaps the Filipino people should be happy about the rise of these kinds of political figures. I mean, we're not endorsing him for any office per se. We're just saying he is occupying a certain space in the political landscape, right? And that's what we're analyzing here.
Yeah. Well, I agree. Kasi pag titignan mo naman talaga, we need major changes when it comes to like people who we elect as our leaders, di ba?
Right.
Kasi nasanay na tayo sa nasanay tayo talaga sa people who capitalizes on the poor, kahit walang hindi marunong, basta may natulungan, basta magpa-promise sa'yo na tutulungan yung mahihirap, then you're panalo ka na. Di ba? It's all in the
puso,
back.
parang relax lang, puso. Kahit walang diskarte, walang coaching na matino, basta puso lang. Yeah.
Yun din ang sa tingin ko, one part of being a Baguio boy din kasi. Yung parang sinasabi nila na parang yabang-yabang. Kasi we are pragmatic eh. Parang, marami tayong practical side ng mga bagay-bagay. And we assess actually sa practical side ng mga bagay-bagay. Tapos pag nakikita kasi ng ibang tao yon who actually parang put more weight on their emotions, they cannot understand you. They cannot understand me. Kasi nga, nasasaktan sila to begin with eh. So when you tell things to them, parang wala na. They will dismiss you immediately kasi nga, nasaktan na sila eh. So your opinion or whatever you are saying, even if it's factual or it's the right thing, you're dismissed already because they're hurt. Ganun na.
Yeah. Kapsat, I mean, the other thing I want to say, like, one of the thing I realized with Baguio is that, again, I'm not overselling our city. It's just that we have a different environment. I mean, this is an American-built city. The American legacy of
Yes.
egalitarianism is very strong. I mean, almost there's a Protestant ethic to Baguio, in ways that you don't see I mean, in a sense that kung punta ka sa Baguio, walang feudalismo, no? I mean, your dad could be a doctor, my dad could be an ordinary janitor, but we're still gonna play basketball together. We're still gonna go, I
Yes.
don't know, play, meet each other, I don't know, in Nevada Square or something like that. No, it's very different.
Tama.
Kaya, I don't know about you, but for me, culture shock ang Manila. Like, you come here, yung mga konyo have their own world. There's a bar for the
Yeah.
konyos. There's a bar for mga, alam mo na, yung parang, I just felt that's like weird because hindi ganun sa Baguio. I mean, may mga kaibigan tayo na magarang kotse, kami walang kotse. Okay lang, like, there's no discrimination. It doesn't, and I felt, and there's a very strong middle class spirit, no? And this kind of a sense of mobilized civil society, middle class. So, much more Americanized. I would say mas feudal kasi ang much of the Philippines.
Tama.
Despite our pretensions, I think the Spanish legacy is quite strong. No offense to our Spanish friends. So, yun lang. So I that's why I think that explains why Baguio people, when we go to Manila, when we go other places, may kakaiba tayong creed. Let's just call it the Baguio creed, no? I'm not gonna say it's superior, but I'm just saying it's a different creed, no? And I think that also explains yung sensibilities natin and how we respond or how we don't respond to how things are done
Yes.
in a usual way. But I think in a way, that also explains yung rebelde spirit that all of us have, because I think all of us are, bakit ganun, di ba? Bakit hindi pa pwede maging, I know I'm gonna sound like Davao, pero why not parang Baguio most of the Philippines, right? Like, kung sabi ni Binay, ganito
Malamig
ganito
yung
kami sa
mountain.
Baguio. Di ba? Ganito kami sa Baguio, right? I mean, why can't we have it in the rest of the country? Why all of these silos, all of these gated communities, etc.? So, even though may mga iba nakala nila konyo tayo, actually, very Baguio boy tayo, no? If you meet us in person, easy to talk kami. Walang, walang wall, walang ekek, all of this nonsense that I experienced when dealing with the, the posh people here in Manila, no? Now, we can talk about your father-in-law more, and let's not overdo this. Now let's go to the meat of the discussion, no? Now, before we go to Tulfo, we have to talk, or Tulfo brothers. Let's talk about Digong. What is your understanding of Digong's rise to prominence and his legacy, particularly the war on drugs? How do you understand that? Because I mean, you can understand, for people like me, I've been working mainstream media. Those are not the best years of our lives, right?
Yes.
Just to put it mildly. And in fact, as I always say, kaysa we make it about ourselves, we rather make it about all those victims, right? I know there are a lot of